Well, until I started doing these book reviews a few months ago, I didn't realize how big a fan of crime novels I am. And I find out I am a huge fan. Got me thinking, what are the elements to a crime novel? Well, you need a detective, you need a crime, you need a setting, and you need a solution. What makes a good crime novel? Well, the detective should be somebody who's interesting, somebody that you like, somebody that you get to know. The crime should have some interesting characteristics to it, something that kind of grabs your attention. The setting should be well done. It should lend something to the story. And then finally, the solution, I think, has to be plausible. And of course, the plot that goes along with it, you know, how the detective solves the crime, is absolutely essential. It's all got to hang together. Which brings me to this book. Ian Rankin, the writer, the book, Song for Dark Times. Now, Ian Rankin, if you've never heard of him, is maybe the most famous current writer in Scotland. He's very, very good. I'm not going to say he's quite Robert Louis Stevenson good, but he is quite good. He's written a ton of novels. I think he wrote an opera. I haven't seen it or heard it, but I understand he did it. Now, of all the novels that he's written, he's got more than 20, and I think it's 23 or 24 crime novels that all feature a detective named John Rebus. This book, A Song for Dark Times, is one of the most recent books in the series, and it's got Rebus in retirement, but he still plays a role in this thing. Now, let's take a look at John Rebus. Rebus is, well, you can kind of think of him in terms of Harry Bosch, a guy totally devoted to his job as a cop, totally devoted to solving crimes, and the fact that he put such a priority on his job creates problems for him at home, his wife, his daughter. He's a cop who pretty much ignores protocol, ignores the rules a lot, has very abrasive relationships with his fellow cops, and in all of these books, his family and his fellow cops, they all recur in the books, and they all change over time. Now, the crime in this book, it's actually two crimes. There's a murder of a Saudi expat student in Edinburgh. The guy actually studies in Edinburgh. The guy actually studies in London, but he lives in Edinburgh for a variety of reasons. There are some hints of the impact of Brexit on Scottish society, just hints, goes over it very lightly. So, but he gets murdered, and that's one crime. The second crime is the murder of Remus's son-in-law, and that takes place in a small little town in the northern part of Scotland. And the interesting feature of that is that he had a hobby of studying World War II prisoner of war camps in Scotland. Very, very interesting. And once again, just like with dealing with Brexit in Edinburgh, he gives this feature of the thing, a kind of a very, very light touch. So the detective is mostly Rebus. The crime, it's a double crime, two murders. The settings, of course, one is in Edinburgh, and the other is in this little town in northern Scotland. And to my mind, the settings create an atmosphere that's a little rainy, kind of dreary, kind of dismal, chilly. But I think that's a feature of what I think of Scotland anyway. Now, so we got the two murders, we got the cops. And in terms of the solution to the crime, he comes up with it. There's not going to be a spoiler in this book review. I'm not going to tell you how it happens. But both crimes, by the end of the book, are solved. What are the good parts of the book? Well, number one, it's enjoyable seeing characters that you're familiar with, that you feel like you kind of know. The book is, like all of Ian Rankin's books, they're very, very well written. In other words, it's very crisp, very sharp, really good dialogue, fast-paced, moves right along. That, in that regard, very well done. The negative I've got on this book is that the link between the two crimes is comes across to me as contrived. I mean, I understand it's a plot device that allows them to develop all of these characters at the same time. It ties them together somehow or other, but like I say, a little bit contrived. Now, where do I come out? Well, number one, I absolutely, positively recommend Ian Rankin. I certainly recommend his John Rebus books. And I'll recommend this one. I mean, I think it's kind of a necessary part of the whole series. You know, once you start with these things, you want to see them all the way through. And I don't know, maybe like Harry Bosch, well, it hasn't happened yet, but sooner or later, Michael Connelly is going to have to put Harry Bosch aside. Ian Rankin is going to have to put John Rebus aside. Just like Henning Mankell retired Kurt Wallander. Anyway, my recommendation this week, Ian Rankin and A Song for Dark Times. See you next week. Sunday mornings, I publish a review of a book that I think is worth bringing to your attention. Here are links to some of my other ones.